once you're linked with Vini and you start thinking about Vini, if it's a left wing signing based upon the players that are even remotely available on the market, I do think that any left wing signing now would be anticlimactic, because the only left wingers that I put in that bracket where I'd wait until the end of the transfer window to see if we get them, because I want that shirt. I want that shirt name. You're looking at Vinny. You're looking at Kvaratskhelia. You're looking at players of that ilk. All of the players that you just mentioned, whether it's a Barcola, you're looking at a different tier. We discussed this on the last pod to an extent, so I don't want to ramble on too much about it. But I think that if it's not Vinny on the left, my thing was improving the attacking front line. I understand the left wing was the
Yeah.
priority. I would much rather, because we've shown our hand in a way, if we're suggesting that we can go somewhere towards 500,000 and basically throw our wage structure out of the window for a player that we think could be the difference maker, with a fee that, going back to the market value conversation that we had, it's not market value really to be. I mean, sorry, it's not. It's not worth paying in excess of 100 million in general terms for a player that you could get on a free next year, for a player that only has 1 year left. But that's absolutely what we'd have to do to get Vinny this year. So we have shown that not only is the transfer fee available, but the funds for the wage are available. And at that point, I am looking at the Alvarez signing down the middle, as opposed to the Barcolas and again, I'd happily take Barcola on that side. Don't get me wrong, but there aren't many players that I look at and I feel they're almost plug and play in the Premier League, and they're almost plug and play in terms of what we need, and they're a tangible upgrade on what we have. I see all of the strengths in Bradley Barcola. Don't get me wrong, but there is a higher element of risk in that signing, particularly because of the money involved, than there is for me in bringing in someone like Vinny, obviously, but also someone like Alvarez. Just because I've seen Alvarez do it in the Premier League and I've seen him do it repeatedly against Premier League teams in Europe. So that's where I'd go, in all honesty. In terms of the left wing signings, chat are going to just want to absolutely lay into me after this. But if you're looking at Barcola and Solis and letting go of Martinelli, but you're then staying with Gyökeres, Havertz, Marino, I would rather you go Martinelli and Solis as your left wing options, with Eze occupying that left wing every so often, but then adding Alvarez down the middle. I think in terms of the strike force, I'd be more comfortable with option B as opposed to option A. That's where I'd go.
So I think I know the answer to this question. Who do you think is better? Eze on the left or Gyökeres or Havertz up front?
Eze on the left. Eze on the left for me.
So I agree with you. I don't think we've scratched the surface of what Eze can do on the left. I really don't. I think we've seen flashes of it. At times he's looked bright. Forest at home, City away. But we don't have a big enough pool of evidence. But I essentially agree with you. I think basically, do I see a really good internal solution for the left wing? I actually do. It's Eze. It's why I was so excited about signing him last summer. And then you've got Erdegaard as your 10. And then you've got Wanera who can play there too. And Bruno Guimaraes had something. Up front, you know what's so annoying? Is because I try to be balanced, both sides hate me. The people who love and hate Havertz and Gyökeres all hate me. There's no conversation around Gyökeres and Havertz which I can win, because I think they're better than people give them credit for. I rate Havertz up front more than Turkish does. I rate Gyökeres more than Jordan does. But I still don't think either of them are players I'm that happy with up front. Havertz at times I think, oh, I get it. And then other times I'm like, I don't. Or I get it, but not enough to overlook the technical quality you lack at times, or the clear standout attribute or whatever. With Gyökeres, I'm like, you're a pure cold-hearted finisher, but we just don't play that way. And so your use is every now and again against Atletico when you're running the channels like that, and you're going to get the odd goal. But ultimately, it's still not enough to convince Arteta that you should start the Champions League final, which you gave Havertz the shirt for. So even though there's a much smaller pool of evidence with Eze, only at Arsenal, by the way, at Palace, drifting in off the left was his bread and butter, and he won them the FA Cup doing that. So I also prefer that. But basically, all that to say, I prefer, if you can't get if you can't get Vini, and you're not sure about Barker because of the fee, and you're not sure about Nico Williams and Marcus Rashford for obvious reasons, then I almost prefer going all out for Alvarez or Krupi, because I think you've got a potentially world-class 9 there, and I say potentially, and you've got a certainly potentially world-class 9, a young, up-and-coming class player who can step in that role every now and again, can also play in the 10, can sort of switch with Kai Havertz. I think they'd actually complement each other quite well at times. And yet it probably means your front line next season is still Saka, Martinelli, Havertz, or Saka, Havertz, Eze, or whatever. But you've got Solis, and you hope he does something.